Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm trying on the Nars Afterglow liquid blushes, and I got these 3 minis in a set on Sephora. I'm gonna swatch them, put them each on my cheeks so you can see what it looks like, and then as always I'll show a little wear test at the end as well. So these blushes retail for $44 each. They come with 7 milliliters of product, which is just a little less than what you get in the Rare Beauty liquid blushes. These come with 7.5 milliliters, and Rare Beauty is now $32. So the Nars blushes are $12 more for just a little less product. And the Nars blushes are supposed to be light coverage, so not super pigmented. It's supposed to be natural looking, buildable, transfer resistant, that you can layer and blend without streaking. Dimethicone is the second ingredient, so this is a silicone-based liquid blush product. So because of that, I put on a light layer of a tinted, like skin tint that has a silicone base as well. I'm actually wearing this Beautyblender one right now. I was eyeing this during the Sephora sale. Tried a sample to figure out my shade and then just picked up the full size, and I'm just testing it out right now. So this little mini set comes with 3 shades. They're each 3.2 milliliters, and in the whole range there are 6 different shades. But we all know Nars has like provocative shade names for some of their products. I'll put the shade names on the screen, and I'm just gonna call it by its short form because I don't want this video to be like flagged as inappropriate or something. The first shade, I'll just call it O. The second one is Dolce Vita, and then the third one is O Rush. And in these mini sizes, it comes with a pretty small doe foot applicator. It looks like a little lip gloss doe applicator. They kind of blend out into a sheer finish, so I'm interested to see how well they layer and how much the pigment actually shows up on my skin. And just for reference, this is the Rare Beauty liquid blush, and I'll just show you like how different the formulas are. The Rare Beauty is much more pigmented and spreads really far, whereas these ones are much more sheer, much more watery and liquidy. This is Hope Rare Beauty, this is Virtue Rare Beauty, and that's Bliss Rare Beauty. I'm gonna go in with Dolce Vita on this side, and I'll just do like this much. BK Beauty A507, and just blending it out. Okay, I'm gonna put some on the back of my hand and pick it up that way. That did blend pretty easily, certainly pretty sheer. Very first impression is that it's a really good like no makeup kind of blush. It looks just like your skin. Now I'm gonna try the other dark shade. This shade has a little bit more of a sheen, a very subtle shift of like bronze that I'm getting. So there's the shade O Rush. There is Dolce Vita. The finish is pretty natural. It's not dewy, it's not really matte. It's just kind of taking on the finish of my skin tint that was underneath. The one thing I will say is it's highlighting a bit of the pigmentation that I have on my cheek. I have a little spot here and some redness on my cheek here. It is eating away into the coverage a little bit and exposing those red spots on my cheeks. So what I'll probably need to do is just pinpoint conceal those spots very lightly after I put on the blush. I'm just going to remove the 2 colors and apply my skin tint again. Then I'm going in with this shade, O. Let's try building it up just a little bit. Blend out the edges. Sorry, I'm going super fast because we have to leave in like 5 minutes to go to lunch with my family. So there's the shade applied. It looks really nice and natural. It's definitely the kind of shade that I gravitate towards. It doesn't give a lot of pigment, which is as advertised. It's a very sheer, liquidy blush. There's pros and cons to that for sure. If you like a dramatic blush look, this probably isn't gonna give you that, but if you like a really natural, no makeup look, barely there kind of blush look, then this might be perfect for you actually. You saw how like chaotically I was applying that blush. I wasn't being too careful with it at all, and it blended out really easily, and it just looked nice and even. Because it is so sheer, you can kind of just get away with a really quick application, and in a rush, it works pretty well. Whereas with something more pigmented like the Rare Beauty, you definitely want wanna spend a little bit of time making sure it's blended well. The cheeks do look quite hydrated and very plump. I think that's partly my skincare that's underneath and the skin tint that I wore. The blush is layering pretty nicely on top of that. Like I said, a little bit of my redness was peeking through with some of the darker shades, but with this lighter shade, I'm not seeing as much of that, which is good. And I'm just gonna put a setting mist on top, and I'll check in and show you what it's looking like after a few hours. Okay, it's been about 4 hours. This blush is very sheer, very natural looking. It doesn't really look like you're wearing blush at all because of how sheer it is. It has worn off a little bit over the last 4 hours, and I imagine into the evening it'll pretty much be like non-existent. I think this will actually be really nice if you're doing like a bold look elsewhere on your face. For example, if you're doing a bold eye look or a really bold lip, a red lip, or like a deep purple lip, something like that, then sometimes you don't want the blush to be the center of attention and you just want a really nice sheer kind of wash of color, just a bit of a sheen. So in that circumstance, I think the Nars blush would work really well. I think it's very beginner friendly. If you haven't used a liquid blush before and maybe you're intimidated by how pigmented some liquid blushes can be, for example, the Rare Beauty one, I think this one is a nice one to start with. Or if you do super natural makeup looks, minimal, no makeup looks, this is a nice blush to add into that kind of routine. It is buildable, but you do have to use quite a bit of product. Whereas if you had a more pigmented formula, you could just shear that out to get a very similar look. These little guys have a shelf life of 6 months. I think I'll go through this pretty quickly if I use it regularly, just by how much product I need each time. But yeah, for like super casual makeup days where I don't really want to look like I'm wearing a lot of makeup, but I just want a sheer wash of color on my cheeks, or over the holidays if I'm gonna be doing like a red lip or like a cranberry lip, that's a scenario where I would reach for the Nars one over some of my more pigmented blushes. I'm gonna keep playing around with these, and if my thoughts change, I will let you know. Okay, it's a new day. I'm gonna try this blush again. Today I'm using the shade Dolce Vita. This is what that shade looks like. It's a pretty nice neutral mid-tone pink, slightly on the warmer side. Last time I didn't apply quite enough. I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about this. On my face right now, I just have a really light layer of the Dr. Jart BB cream, Merit brow gel, curled my lashes, and a bit of the e.l.f. setting powder. So I think I just have to use a lot more product. I'm gonna take my BB cream brush, and if I really want to build it up, let's just see how this goes. I will say it is a lot easier to blend out than a blush like the Rare Beauty liquid blush. It doesn't spread quite as far, and it has a nice gel-like texture that just kind of blends out really quickly and pretty evenly. And if you have a blush that you know just doesn't have the best lasting power, here's a trick that I use, and I shared this on my shorts. I have a quick how-to video, but I'll show it to you with this formula. You know, I applied the blush, it's set down. I take my translucent powder again and just get a little bit on the brush, and I pat it on top of the blush, just enough to get a super sheer layer. And then I take the blush again and go in with just a little bit more. I will just use the method then that I used in that video. You kind of take it on the palm of your hand, and then opposite hand, it just makes it easier to get the angle and stamp it. I'll take a little bit more on this hand, blend out the edges. And then from here, you can take a setting spray and just spray your face down, and that will definitely help with longevity. I went in and applied a pretty bold lip. This is the Rare Beauty lip oil in the shade Wonder. And when paired with a bright, bold lip like this, I will say the blush does look really nice and natural. It doesn't compete with the color of the lip. So I think if you're someone who likes a very fresh, natural looking flush to the cheeks with your blush, and if you wear lighter base products in general, so like skin tints or like just concealer, and if you don't mind that it doesn't last super long, it's not gonna last like a 12-hour day, I think the Nars blush is for you. On the flip side, if you love the Rare Beauty blushes because it's pigmented, it lasts a long time, you probably won't love the Nars liquid blush. They're pretty different, and the Nars is quite a bit more expensive actually. And you saw how much product I had to use just to get a very natural flush of color like this. I'll probably go through the minis pretty quickly. I'm sure the full size has a bigger doe foot applicator and it's a bit easier to get more product on the face. My favorite thing about it is that it just looks like skin. Honestly, it gives a pretty similar effect to the Merit Cream blushes because those are also really sheer, also kind of known for not being the most long lasting. So I definitely always use my powder blush sandwich tip to make a blush like this last just a little bit longer. Would I necessarily recommend this blush across the board? Not really. I think there are products out there that will give you a bit more color payoff and lasting power that's probably worth your money a little bit more than this one. But if you love Nars, if you love a super gel-like liquidy, hydrating, sheer blush that looks super natural, great for no makeup days, I think it's worth a shot to add to your collection. I see myself reaching for the Nars blush when I'm doing a very no makeup look. I want something super sheer. I don't care if it doesn't last all day because maybe I just need my makeup for an afternoon. But usually for me, I do like blush to be one of the statement parts of my makeup. So I do prefer a more pigmented formula like the Rare Beauty, because with that you can always sheer it out to get a very similar look to this. So there are my thoughts right now on the Nars liquid blush. I'm gonna keep wearing them, keep playing around with them to see how they go. If you have any questions, do leave them down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.